My younger brother found out I had $28 million. His face turned purple with rage. He started screaming at me in front of our entire family at Christmas dinner. My mother joined in, yelling that I owed him everything. My father just sat there, silent as always. You will not believe what they tried to do next. Before we continue, if you have ever been the invisible child in your family, the one who had to fight for every scrap of recognition while your sibling got everything handed to them, smash that subscribe button right now. Because what happened after they discovered my success is a story of betrayal, manipulation, and finally standing up for myself. My name is Rebecca Sullivan. I am 32 years old, and I live in Denver, Colorado. For as long as I can remember, I was the invisible one in my family. The plain one. The one who faded into the background while my younger brother shined like a star. Growing up, Nathan got everything. A brand new car when he turned 16. Private school tuition paid without question. Constant praise for every tiny thing he did. Meanwhile, I was working shifts at a local coffee shop, steaming milk and scrubbing counters just to cover my community college tuition. My mother Helen would look at me with disappointment in her eyes and say, "Why can you not be more like your brother?" My father Richard would just nod along, never defending me, never standing up for me. They called me the plain one, like I was some background character in their perfect family story. But I was not lazy. I was not unmotivated. I just was not getting any help. I studied computer science at a state school, stayed up until 3 in the morning coding, and landed an internship at a small tech startup. It was not glamorous. The office was cramped, the pay was terrible, but I loved it. Building applications, solving problems, creating something from nothing. My family did not care. At every holiday dinner, they would spend hours talking about Nathan's half-baked business ideas while I sat quietly in the corner. My work was dismissed as just some computer stuff. My cousin Miranda would smirk and say, "At least Nathan is going places." My mother would beam with pride. And I would bite my tongue until it bled. By my mid-20s, I had started my own software company. I poured everything into it. Every night, every weekend, every single dollar I earned. The company was growing faster than I ever imagined, but I kept that information to myself. My family did not need to know. They had never asked about my life anyway. Too busy worshiping their golden child. I was not chasing their approval anymore. I was building something real. But their words still stung. Every plain one comment. Every comparison to Nathan. Every time they made it clear I was the disappointment. My best friend Jessica, who I met in college, saw everything. She would roll her eyes when my mother bragged about Nathan's latest failed scheme and whisper to me, "They have no idea who you really are." I did not realize how deep their favoritism ran until I got older and could see the patterns clearly. My mother paid for Nathan's gap year trip through Europe, his business school applications, even his apartment rent when he needed space to think. Meanwhile, I was taking out student loans and working 2 jobs just to survive. When I graduated college, my mother did not come to the ceremony. She had to help Nathan move into a new apartment that same weekend. My father came but left early to join her. I stood there in my cap and gown, diploma in hand, completely alone. That was the moment I realized I would never be enough for them. Not because I was not successful, but because I was not Nathan. So I stopped trying to earn their love. I focused on my company instead. We developed custom software solutions for small businesses. Inventory management systems, customer relationship tools, automated billing platforms. The kind of boring behind-the-scenes technology that makes businesses run smoothly. It was not flashy. Nobody writes news articles about accounting software. But it was profitable. Very profitable. Within 3 years, my company had over 200 clients across the country. We hired 15 full-time employees. We moved into a real office space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Denver. And I kept it all quiet. I did not post about it on social media. I did not brag at family dinners. I just worked. The money started rolling in faster than I could have imagined. Clients were paying 5 figures per year for our software subscriptions. We signed enterprise contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had been avoiding these gatherings more and more. But Jessica convinced me to go. "Just show up for an hour," she said. "You do not owe them anything more than that." So I drove to my parents' house in the suburbs, the same house I grew up in, the same place where I was always made to feel small. The moment I walked in, I knew it was a mistake. Nathan was there with his new girlfriend Sophia, both of them dressed like they were attending a cocktail party instead of a family dinner. She would roll her eyes when my mother bragged about Nathan's latest failed scheme and whisper to me, "They have no idea who you really are." I did not realize how deep their favoritism ran until I got older and could see the patterns clearly. My mother paid for Nathan's gap year trip through Europe, his business school applications, even his apartment rent when he needed space to think. Meanwhile, I was taking out student loans and working 2 jobs just to survive. My mother rushed over to hug me, but her embrace felt forced, obligatory. "Your brother has such exciting news," she said, her eyes already drifting back toward Nathan. Of course he does, I thought. We sat down for dinner, the table covered with my mother's best china and more food than 10 people could possibly eat. My father sat at the head of the table, quiet as usual. My cousin Miranda was there with her husband, my Aunt Carol, a few other relatives I barely recognized. And then my mother stood up, clinking her wine glass to get everyone's attention. "Everyone, Nathan has an announcement." Nathan stood, his smile wide and confident. He reached for Sophia's hand. "Everyone, Sophia and I are launching a real estate investment company," he said, his voice full of fake humility. "We have been working on this for months, and we are finally ready to go public with it." The table erupted in applause. My mother was practically crying with joy. My father nodded approvingly. Miranda was already asking questions about how to invest. I sat there silently, picking at my food. Then Nathan's eyes landed on me. "Rebecca, we would love for you to be involved," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. "I know you work in tech, and we could use someone with your skills to build our website." I looked up slowly. "You want me to build you a website?" "Well, yeah," he said with a laugh. "I mean, that is what you do, right? Computer stuff." The table went quiet for a moment, everyone staring at me expectantly. I took a sip of water, choosing my words carefully. "I am not really doing small projects right now," I said simply. "My company keeps me pretty busy." Nathan's smile faltered slightly. "Company? You have a company?" My mother jumped in quickly. "Oh, Rebecca has some little computer business," she said dismissively. "It is very sweet. But Nathan's project is a real opportunity, Rebecca. You should be grateful he is including you." Something inside me snapped. I put down my fork and looked directly at my mother. "My company has 200 clients, 15 employees, and is valued at $28 million, I said, my voice calm but firm. "So no, I will not be building Nathan's website." The silence that followed was deafening. Nathan's face went from confusion to shock to pure rage in about 3 seconds. $28 million, he repeated, his voice rising. "You expect us to believe that?" "Yes," I said simply. He stood up so fast his chair nearly tipped over. "That is impossible," he shouted. "There is no way you have that kind of money. You are lying to make me look bad." "I am not lying," I replied, still calm. "And I am not trying to make you look bad. You asked about my work, and I told you." My mother's face had gone pale. "Rebecca, why would you keep something like this from us?" "Because you never asked," I said, turning to look at her. "In 10 years, you have never once asked me how my company was doing. You never came to visit my office. You never showed any interest in my life at all." "That is not true," my mother protested weakly. "We care about you." Nathan slammed his hand on the table. "This is bullshit," he yelled. "She is making this up to ruin my announcement." I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and turned the screen toward him. The account balance was very, very clear. Nathan's face turned purple. His hands were shaking. "Where did you get that money?" he demanded. "Did you steal it? Did you scam people?" "I earned it," I said quietly. "The same way anyone earns money. By working." My mother found her voice again, but now it was sharp and accusing. "Rebecca, if you have that much money, you should be helping your family. Your brother needs capital for his business." I stared at her in disbelief. "You want me to give Nathan money?" "Invest in him," she corrected. "He is your brother. Family supports family." I almost laughed. "Family supports family," I repeated. Where was that energy when I was working 3 jobs to pay for college? Where was that energy when you skipped my graduation to help Nathan move? "Rebecca, that is different," my mother said, her voice rising. "How is it different?" I asked. "Because Nathan needs help," she snapped. "You clearly do not." The entitlement was breathtaking. I stood up from the table, grabbing my coat. "I am leaving," I said. My father finally spoke, his voice quiet. "Rebecca, do not go. Let us talk about this calmly." "There is nothing to talk about," I said, heading toward the door. Nathan followed me, his face still red with rage. "You think you are better than me," he hissed. "You think your stupid computer company makes you special." "No," I said, turning to face him. "I think my stupid computer company is mine. I built it. I earned it. And I do not owe you anything. I walked out and drove straight home, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. That night, I sat in my apartment overlooking the Denver skyline and realized something. I had been waiting my entire life for my family to see me, to value me, to treat me like I mattered. But they never would. Not because I was not successful enough, but because they had already decided who I was in their story. The plain one, the invisible one, the one who was supposed to serve Nathan's dreams instead of building her own. I was done waiting for their approval. The next morning, my phone started blowing up. Text messages from my mother, voicemails from Nathan, even messages from relatives I had not spoken to in years. They all had the same theme. How dare I embarrass the family? How dare I refuse to help Nathan? How dare I be successful when I was supposed to be the failure? My mother's text messages got increasingly desperate. Rebecca, we need to talk. Your brother deserves a chance. You are being selfish. Then Nathan started calling from different numbers, trying to get me to answer. When I blocked those, he started messaging me on social media. Sis, I am sorry I reacted badly, one message read. Let us talk about a real partnership. We can build something together. I did not respond to any of them. Then my mother escalated. She called my office, trying to reach me through my assistant. She showed up at my building, demanding to speak with me. Security had to escort her out. My father called, his voice strained. Rebecca, your mother is very upset, he said. Can you just talk to her? Maybe you could invest a little bit in Nathan's project. Just to keep the peace. No, I said firmly. I am not funding Nathan's dreams. But he is your brother, my father said weakly. And you are my father, I replied. But that has never stopped you from choosing him over me. He went silent. Days turned into weeks. The text messages continued. My mother accused me of turning my back on the family. Nathan sent long messages dripping with fake sincerity, talking about how his project could put our family on the map. Then my cousin Miranda posted on Twitter, calling my father spineless for not standing up to me. Other relatives piled on, posting snide comments about how weak my father was for not controlling me. They were not just attacking me anymore. They were attacking anyone who did not fall in line with their demands. Then I got a call from Jessica. Rebecca, you need to see this, she said, her voice tight with anger. She sent me a link to a website. Davis Properties and Investments. A brand new real estate company. And there, listed as a founding partner and primary investor, was my name. Rebecca Sullivan. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. They did not, I whispered. Jessica's voice was grim. They did. They forged your signature on incorporation documents. They are telling investors that you are backing them with millions of dollars. I immediately called my lawyer. A woman named Margaret Chen who I had worked with on various business contracts over the years. Margaret, I need you to look into something, I said, explaining the situation. Within 2 hours, she had pulled together a file, forged contracts with my signature, website copy claiming I was a silent partner, email correspondence where Nathan told potential investors that his sister had committed $10 million to the venture. This is fraud, Margaret said, her voice cold. Do you want to press charges? Not yet, I said. First, I want to expose them. Jessica and I put together a comprehensive dossier. Every forged document, every false claim, every lie they had told. We sent it to every investor Nathan had contacted. Within 48 hours, his entire scheme collapsed. Investors pulled out. His business partner distanced herself. People who had been excited about the project were now threatening legal action. Then I called a meeting at my parents' house. I told my mother it was urgent family business. She agreed, probably thinking I was finally going to cave and write Nathan a check. When I arrived, the living room was tense. Nathan was sprawling on the couch, that same arrogant smirk on his face. Helen sat stiffly, her eyes narrowing as I placed a stack of papers on the coffee table. Richard stood by the window, avoiding my gaze as usual. I took a deep breath and started speaking. Nathan, Helen, you have been using my name to pitch your real estate company, I said, my voice steady. I slid the dossier forward, open to a forged contract with my signature. This is fraud, I continued. You lied to investors, claiming I had invested $10 million in your company. Nathan's smirk vanished. His face went pale. That is not true, he stammered. It is just marketing. I cut him off, pointing to an email from him to an investor. You told multiple people I had committed funding. I never agreed to any of this. Helen jumped in, her voice sharp. Rebecca, you are blowing this out of proportion. We were just trying to help Nathan succeed. I held up my hand. Help him. You forged my signature. You put my name on legal documents without my permission. You lied to investors. That is not help. That is theft. She flinched but quickly recovered. You are family, she said desperately. You should want to support us. Richard finally spoke, his voice weak. Rebecca, maybe we can work this out quietly. I turned to him, my frustration boiling over. Dad, you knew about this and did not stop them. There is no working this out. They broke the law. He looked away, his shoulders slumping. Nathan tried a different approach, his tone softer now. Sis, we did not mean any harm. Let us be real partners. We can build something together. His charm was as fake as his contracts. I pushed the dossier toward them. The lead investor has already pulled out, I said. His lawyers have this evidence. Other investors will get it too. Nathan's eyes widened, his hands shaking as he flipped through the papers. You are trying to ruin me, he shouted, standing up. I stayed calm, my voice ice cold. You did that yourself, Nathan. You used my name without permission. You forged my signature. Now you face the consequences. Helen clutched his arm, whispering something, but he yanked away, glaring at me with pure hatred. I stood up, gathering my papers. I am done being your safety net, I said. I am done being the invisible one who is supposed to fund your dreams. From now on, you are on your own. I walked out and did not look back. Over the next few months, I watched their world crumble from a distance. Nathan's real estate company never launched. No investor would touch him after the fraud revelations. His girlfriend Sophia left him. He moved back in with our parents, broke and humiliated. Helen tried reaching out to other family members, spinning a story where I was the villain who abandoned my brother in his time of need. Some people believed her. Most did not. Miranda posted more nasty comments on social media, but fewer people engaged. The narrative was shifting. My father called me a few times, his voice sad and tired. I just want to check on you, he would say, carefully avoiding any mention of the drama. I kept those conversations short, polite but distant. He had not taken sides, but he had not stood up for me either. And that was almost worse. Meanwhile, my company continued to thrive. We launched a new software product that streamlined business operations, and it exploded in popularity. Clients from across the country reached out. My team grew to 30 employees. We moved into an even larger office space. Every success felt like validation, not because I was proving something to my family, but because I was proving something to myself. I had built this. Without their help, without their support, without their approval, and I did not need them anymore. I stopped checking their social media. I stopped responding to random text messages from relatives. I created boundaries and enforced them ruthlessly. Jessica threw me a party to celebrate our company's 5th anniversary. My office was filled with employees, clients, friends I had made over the years. People who valued me for my work, not my last name. I stood on the balcony, looking out at the Denver skyline, and felt something I had not felt in years. Peace. I thought about my childhood. All those years of being compared to Nathan. All those times my achievements were dismissed. All those moments where I felt invisible. And I realized something profound. Their favoritism was never about me. It was never because I was not good enough or smart enough or successful enough. It was about them. About my mother's need to coddle her son. About my father's inability to stand up to her. About a family dynamic that was broken long before I came along. I could not fix them. I could only fix myself. And that is exactly what I did. I learned that family does not mean loyalty at any cost. It does not mean tolerating manipulation or abuse or being used. Family should be built on mutual respect, not blind devotion. When my mother, Helen, and my brother Nathan crossed the line, forging my name and trying to exploit my success, I had to draw a boundary. Not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. Protecting what I had built became my priority. My software company, now thriving with new contracts and a growing team, was proof that I did not need their validation. I had spent years coding, pitching, sacrificing, building something real while they dismissed me as the plain one. Their betrayal stung, but it also brought clarity. What mattered was my work, my integrity, my independence. I stopped seeking their approval. The moment I let that go, I felt free. Manipulation always has a price. I saw it play out in their lives. Nathan's ambition blinded him, leading to lies that destroyed his reputation. Helen's need to control pushed her to justify his fraud even when it was clearly wrong. Richard's silence, his refusal to take a stand, left him isolated in their chaos. Their choices unraveled their own world, not mine. I learned that people who manipulate often trap themselves, chasing short-term wins at the expense of long-term trust. I would not let their mistakes define me. My company launched additional products: a cloud-based project management system, an AI-powered customer service platform, each one more successful than the last. Clients from Fortune 500 companies started reaching out. We signed deals worth millions of dollars. My personal net worth climbed past 40 million. And I kept it all quiet. Not because I was hiding, but because I did not need external validation anymore. I hired more developers, more salespeople, more support staff. I created a company culture built on respect, hard work, and innovation. The kind of environment I wish I had growing up. Living independently was not just about cutting ties. It was about creating a life that felt authentic. I surrounded myself with people who valued me for my contributions, not my family connections. Jessica remained my closest friend, offering advice and support without expecting anything in return. My team became a kind of chosen family, built on mutual respect and shared goals. I hosted dinners at my apartment, filled with laughter and ideas, not drama or guilt trips. For the first time in my life, I felt at home in my own skin. I heard through the grapevine that Helen was still trying to repair her image, reaching out to distant relatives to paint me as the villain. Nathan was pitching new business ideas, but nobody trusted him anymore. Richard stayed quiet, caught in the middle of a mess he had helped create through his inaction. I did not check their social media. I did not answer their occasional calls. Their world was theirs to navigate. Mine was here, in the life I had built with my own 2 hands. I was not angry anymore. I was just done. Standing in my corner office one morning, watching the sunrise over the Rocky Mountains, I thought about what I had gained. Not just financial success, though that was nice, but something more valuable. Clarity about who I was and what I deserved. I learned to trust my instincts, to guard my achievements, to walk away from people who would rather take than give. Manipulation might promise quick rewards, but it always leaves a trail of broken relationships and burned bridges. I chose a different path. Hard work, honesty, transparency, and independence. My company was not just a business. It was a statement, a declaration that I had value beyond what my family saw in me. Every contract we signed, every product we launched, every employee we hired was proof that I had made it on my own terms. I thought about sending my family a final message. Something to close the chapter once and for all, but then I realized they did not deserve that closure. They had made their choices. He had made mine. The story did not need a dramatic ending. Sometimes, the most powerful statement is simply walking away and building something beautiful without looking back. And that is exactly what I did. Years of being called the plain one, years of being invisible, years of watching my brother get everything while I got nothing. All of it had led me here, to a life I had created entirely on my own. A life that was successful, peaceful, and completely mine. My younger brother had it all growing up. The cars, the schools, the praise, the opportunities. And when he learned I had $28 million, he burst with rage. But his rage did not matter anymore. His opinion did not matter. My family's judgment did not matter. What mattered was that I had proven to myself that I was capable of extraordinary things. Not in spite of being the invisible child, but perhaps because of it. Being overlooked taught me self-reliance. Being dismissed taught me determination. Being underestimated taught me to work harder and smarter than everyone else. And now, looking out at the city I had conquered through sheer force of will and talent, I understood something my family never would. Success is not about where you come from. It is about where you are going. It is not about who believes in you. It is about believing in yourself. My name is Rebecca Sullivan. I am 32 years old. I built a software company worth tens of millions of dollars. I did it without my family's help, without their support, without their approval. And I would not change a single thing. If this story resonated with you, if you have ever been underestimated by your family, if you have ever been told you were not good enough, please share this. Someone out there needs to hear that they can succeed despite their family's doubts, that they can build something incredible even when nobody believes in them. That being invisible is sometimes the greatest gift because it teaches you to see yourself clearly. Subscribe for more real stories about overcoming family dysfunction, building success from nothing, and learning that your worth is not determined by other people's opinions. Remember, you do not owe anyone your success. You do not owe anyone access to what you have built. You do not owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. Stand your ground, protect your achievements, and never apologize for being successful. The end.